ZapTvCristal, also known as Zap. She's a content creator and YouTuber. She focuses on both retro and modern gaming, as well as collecting. She has a massive Resident Evil collection, 3DS collection, and she is also part of the podcast called The Reset and Zap.
Thank you, Q. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. So as human beings, we create memories through different media forms and different forms of entertainment. Me growing up in a family of gamers and musicians, one of the ways that I've connected and created memories over time has been through music. Listening to music, it can remind you of a place, it can remind you of a person, it can remind you of a moment you've been through. It could help you go through hardships in life. Gaming has also been the same thing for me. To give you a little bit of more context of who I am, in the present time, I have a channel called ZapCristal. I'm an Xbox ambassador, I'm a Capcom creator, and I host campaigns for them for all of their major games, Street Fighter, Resident Evil, you name it. And I try to bring that positivity and that change within the gaming community. My parents are gamers way before I was brought into the world. From the NES, Atari, you name it. When we were brought into the world, my brother and I, my dad introduced me for the very first time. This was my very first game, and it was Ms. Pac-Man. And Ms. Pac-Man made such an impact in my life because Ms. Pac-Man was the very first female character in a video game. Now you gotta remember that back in the 90s, gaming was catered very differently. Gaming was more of girls play with dolls, boys play with cars. And gaming was kind of done in the same way. And my dad was all about breaking traditions, just revolutionizing everything. And he was like, Crystal, girls can play games too. So let me sit you down and introduce you to Ms. Pac-Man. And that day, instantly, I fell in love. I just fell in love with gaming because it not only connected me with a character, it also connected me with my dad. And that's what when I want to reminisce about gaming for me is all about family moments, good quality time that I spent with my dad, time that I spent with my mom, fights that I had with my brother, just because I've always been naturally competitive. And within time, as I grew, I knew deep down inside I wanted to make an impact in the world, but I just never knew how it was going to be. 2018, I lived in Puerto Rico and I was impacted by Hurricane Maria. It was Category 5. I asked God, whether you believe in him or not, or whatever beliefs you have, I was asking for a change. And that change came by a hurricane. We had no access to electricity. We had no access to water. I would have to go to a river, collect water, just to do my laundry, just to cook, just to be able to survive. And during that time, I was a young mom. My son was 5 years old, and I wanted to bring back gaming into our lives. And it all started with the Wii U. I brought this console to my house, and I was like, I don't know where we're gonna go with this, but I wanna introduce my son to the traditions that my family brought me. And as I started playing games with my son, I started having hope. I started reimagining what would be my future with gaming. I moved to Texas, didn't know nobody, don't have family over here, just came as a foreigner, trying to build a future, trying to figure it out. And I started this YouTube channel. And when I started this YouTube channel, I was like, I'm a nobody. I don't know nothing about Texas. I don't know nobody over here. How am I going to introduce myself to the world? And for the longest, I hid gaming. I didn't want people to know I was into gaming because it was very new. Oh, female into gaming, like, ooh, how is that? Girls don't know anything about games, and I kind of had to just hit it aside. So I started playing games that would help me process what I was going through in life. And I want you to think about this question as I continue talking about my life journey. And it is, what video game have you played that has helped you go through hardships, has helped you navigate through dark times, have helped you overcome challenges in life? Because this today that I'm sharing with you all is how I've overcome my healing journey through video games. The first game I started playing was a game called Unpacking. Now it's an indie game. Not a lot of people know about this game. You know? Okay. Thank God somebody knows about it. But Unpacking is a real simplistic game. It's all about moving to a place and unpacking all of your stuff, items that bring you nostalgia, that bring you memory. It helps you settle in to that new place and make it your home. And that was unpacking for me. Unpacking was me starting a new life, new beginnings, resetting in a new place, and putting items that meant something to me. And that helped me give me hope of knowing, yeah, you know what, I'm over here, but I'm building a future for my family. I'm building a future for my children. I'm aspiring to become more than I could have ever imagined. So I started playing Unpacking, and I just continued in that world. Once you know it, later on, 2020, I started blowing up. My YouTube started blowing up. I was on content creator on the rise. I was being featured on YouTube. We started streaming on Twitch. I started becoming a Capcom creator. And I wasn't prepared for what was going on. We were hit with COVID, and everybody was in quarantine. Nobody knew what was going on. We were in lockdown. I was working for a school district. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't go to work. I was working from home. And guess what game came? Animal Crossing New Horizons. And I was like, oh boy, because it came out in March. And March is my birthday. Shout out to Aries. And when I got this game as a birthday gift, my God, it was life-changing. First of all, it was my first introduction to Animal Crossing. Second of all, I had an excuse to connect with my community, with my friends. Community is everything for me. When I started my YouTube channel, I just didn't want it to do the same thing that everybody was doing. Now, let me remind you, when I started, it was 2012. It was still fairly new. So being able to build a community was something that not everybody was used to. I started in the retro gaming scene. That's where I am right now, because I am a retro collector. I have a full 3DS collection, a full Resident Evil collection. And being a collector as a female was very neat too. So I wanted to bring positivity and bring an impact and show kindness in my community by being an example of what you can do. So I started thinking about games that would help me connect with my community during COVID, and Animal Crossing New Horizons was one of them. So we started creating all these events where we created a fashion show all of a sudden on the island, or build a barcade in the basement and invited people to come over to our island, and everybody was excited of just designing things. And it brought me back to Puerto Rico, because in a weird way, Animal Crossing is an island. So every time I got on a plane and just landed on somebody's island, it was almost like me going back home. And I get very emotional by saying it. But that's what gaming has done in my life. Sorry, Rob. It has helped me overcome being homesick. And I played games with people, and I felt like I was free to do whatever I want. Even though we were in the middle of lockdown, I felt free because I was roaming through this island. I can fish, I can harvest things, I can sell, I can get screwed by Nook, which that's a whole different story. But the point is, I had the freedom to be whatever I wanted to be in gaming. And I think that's one of the most powerful tools in a community. You get to decide who you want to be in gaming. Don't let people define what you should be. You define the community by setting an example and molding and shaping it and letting people know, I don't necessarily have to adapt to these stereotypes. I can be whoever I want to be, and everything is welcomed. Later on, after COVID, after we started blowing up and everything started progressing, I was pregnant. I was expecting a baby. Mind you, I'm past my 30s. I have a 14-year-old. So after having a 14-year-old and all of a sudden waking up one day and finding out I'm pregnant, I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus, how are we going to make this work all over again? Diapers, milk, whew. I'm like, well, here we go. And during COVID, I got sick and I had a miscarriage. And I lost my baby. And it was a very dark time in my life. I was like devastated because I was creating content. I was working for Capcom. I had hopes of having my baby girl. I was 4 months pregnant. Her name is Esmeralda, rest in peace. And I couldn't make it. I lost my baby. And one day my friend comes to me and she's like, Crystal, I know you're grieving. I know you're in pain. There's a game I want you to play that's gonna change your life once again. And it's called Spiritfarer. And Spiritfarer is all about a game where you make connections and bond with different characters. You're guiding them to the ending, to the end of their life, you know? And you're learning about their stories, you're learning about their background, and you're bonding in a way that when it's time to say goodbye to them, it hurts because you don't want to let go of them, but you're having to learn to let go. And that was what the game was about, teaching you about how there's still hope even after you lose a loved one and how to grieve properly. And that was the problem I was dealing with. You're never ready when you lose someone in life, you know? You don't know how to truly grieve. You don't know how to overcome and just move on, you know? Even if everybody tells you, oh, it's gonna be all right, you know, time will pass, you'll just get over it, you'll recover. You don't really truly recover. So I started playing Spiritfarer, and once you know it, I started going through this roller coaster of emotions, of just sadness, but anger, and I started, what if I would have done this, and just started questioning myself. I started going through all those phases of grief. And then one day, it just hit me, and I was like, wow, it's okay. It's okay to grieve. Now, how did I learn that? I learned that through a game. I learned it by playing every day and connecting with these characters and learning and listening to their stories. Turns out to be at the end of the game, all these characters were real people who passed away. So it no longer became this fake story. This was actual people who lived and walked through this planet called Earth. And it gave me hope. I was like, I can learn how to grieve. I can learn how to overcome. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. Because grieving is another form of love. It just means you love that person. So if it wasn't for Spiritfarer, I wouldn't have overcome miscarriage. Another thing that helped me overcome my miscarriage was What Remains of Edith Finch. I don't know if many of you are aware or not of this game. What Remains of Edith Finch is like a walking simulator, and it's basically the same thing. You're just walking in this house and you're experiencing each one of these rooms. And you're learning the story once again of each one of these people and how they passed away. And while very vaguely I'm putting it out there, it had the true power once again to transform my life. And I keep using that word because I want you to realize that gaming is powerful. It's a tool of transformation. It can impact your life. It can shape you. It can give you new experiences. It can help you bond with other people who are going through those life experiences, through those moments, through those hardships. It's so powerful that sometimes I feel like making my videos doesn't project enough how much I want people to feel and understand how powerful gaming is and how much it can liberate you and bring you new freedom. Another game that helped me go through a lot is New Campus, 2 Point Campus, I think it's called. That's my husband, by the way, so I'm gonna have to recall. 2 Point, yeah. So this game, I was playing it, and it was during a time that as a content creator, I was going through a burnout. I had I've been creating content for 7 years. 7 years straight. I've lost count at this point, how long I've been live streaming, how long I've been working for Capcom. I probably have been working for Capcom close to, I think maybe 4 or 5 years now. 4 years now, yeah. And I was working nonstop. I took my YouTube channel, and instead of becoming a hobby, it became a business. And when you treat something as a business, it can stop being fun at some point if you don't do it correctly. I came to the point that I was live streaming 2 times a weekend. I was releasing 2 videos a week. I was releasing shorts in between. And I had public speakings back to back. It came to the point I was living at the airport because every single week I was flying to Chicago, I was flying to Pennsylvania, I was going to New Jersey, I was inducted in the Hall of Fame for when it came to retro gaming. It was nonstop. I was in the public eye at all times. And I had no space to just be me, or at least I thought. And I lived in this period that I was just burnt out and I was ready to quit. I had a persona, her name is Zap, and I was just Zap all the time. And Zap was my defense mechanism of, I'm always happy. So for those that do not know and haven't watched the video of Zap, this is me, this is Crystal. But if I made a video and I'm Zap, I'll be in 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, y'all beautiful peeps? It's ZapCristal in the house, and in this video, I'm gonna talk about 5 video games you should play right now for the 3DS. Let's go. I was always like that. Now imagine being with Zap for a whole day. I can't hang out with Zap all day. Because Zap is this go-go-getter, high, energetic, happy person all the time. But I had a reason why I did that. And it was because I had seen so many people sad, in depression, dealing through stuff. And I wanted that when you sit down and watch a video of mine, that it would make you feel at the end happy. That you would be like, wow, that made me feel great. I had a great time. I learned about games. I learned about games I haven't played. She made me feel like I can be someone, like I belong. And that was the whole purpose of Zap. But by doing it, I was shutting myself down. So I lost clarity. I was lost. I didn't know who I was anymore. Like, it blurred. My persona had blurred. And it came to the point that I didn't know if I was Zap or if I was Crystal. I wanted to quit. I didn't tell anybody about it. Only my closest friends. And my friends, they had the best intentions. They're like, no, quit. Don't quit. You're so good at it. Just keep going. You got this. It's just a phase. You know, it's what all content creators go through. But in reality, I was done. I was really, really done. So I started playing 2 Point Campus. And when I was playing 2 Point Campus, I realized something about the game. 2 Point Campus lets you build a campus on the general state. But when you realize it, the campus can be whatever you want it to be. So you can build the rooms however way you want it to be. You can make the rules. You can decide who you want at your campus. You can make it as boring as possible, or you can make it as fun as possible. You have those options. And it just clicked one day. I was like, you have the power to decide where you want to go with your career. Why are you in this box of how you think your videos should be, of how you think you should be in public, of the image you have to portray? Why are you stuck in this box? Who put you in this box? And I realized it was me. I put myself in this box. So what was I going to do about it? And it just required facing reality. I had to step out of my comfort zone. I had to break the mold of what I had built and rebuild what I wanted the channel to be. And in that moment, I stopped being Zap. I started being Crystal. And I made one of the most powerful videos that transformed my life. And it was called My Video Game Healing Journey. That video blew up because nobody had seen Crystal. Everybody was used to seeing Zap. And I was so nervous because Zap is not about giving personal details. Zap is not about revealing my private life. But Crystal is about exposing her life. Crystal's about being vulnerable in front of people. And I did my healing journey video and started talking about the very same thing I'm talking about right now. Games that have helped me heal. And once you know it, it exploded to a way that I never thought, I could never imagine it would have. I was like, oh, it's just a video, it might flop, whatever, we'll see. And a week later, till this day, till today, a year later, I'm still getting messages from people saying, wow, this video is completely helping me reshape and rethink my own future. Like, thank you for opening up. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being sincere. Thank you for letting me know that gaming is not a waste of time, that I can learn and I can adapt and carry it throughout life. Nowadays, I'm really proud, a year later, of inaugurating the Reset and Zap podcast, because the Reset and Zap podcast reflects precisely this transformation. My husband over there, shout out to Tarant, calls me mariposa, and that means butterfly in English. And the reason why he calls me butterfly is, one, it's his nickname for me, that's one thing. But two, butterfly for me means so much more. It means being free to be me. So this year, when I did the Reset and Zap podcast, I wanted to show people more than I'm just a gamer. I wanted to reveal to people, hey, it's cool and all. I enjoy games. I like games. I'm a gamer. But let me show you other things that gaming can do for your life. And that's where the Reset and Zap podcast came in. I wanted to talk about things that were just more than just games. I wanted to talk about mental health. I wanted to talk about overcoming addictions. I wanted to talk about pros and cons of being a content creator. I wanted to talk about the healthy way of creating content. And the Reset and Zap podcast has been a complete success. Mainly because it has helped me show people that you can be an example, that you can build a community, that you can enjoy gaming, but that you don't have to change who you are in order to fit in the gaming industry. And I can now say that today, this has been a milestone, because 2018, I came here, I was a nobody. Let's just say it how it is. I didn't know nobody, like I said. Nowadays, I'm able to go to conventions. I'm able to host for Capcom. I'm able to talk on behalf of Xbox. I'm able to go to conventions. I'm able to be here with you guys and talk about how much gaming has impacted my life. So now I'm going to go back to that question, and I want you to answer it. What is one game that has helped you go through hardships, that has helped you go through dark times, that has helped you overcome life challenges? You don't have to go into details, but at least let me know, what is that one game? Anybody? Do you mind telling me a little bit why without going into details?
I was going through a lot of anger problems, and I was able to find a source that
Awesome.
about that game when it did.
You know what? That's why I do Resi Evil. That's mainly why I do Resi Evil. Sometimes I just come back from work and I'm like, look, I had a bad day. I can't with y'all. I lock myself in the room. I'm like, I'm playing a little bit of Resi Evil, shoddy to the head. We're good.
Back in 84, 85, it was a great way to escape and go to adventure. Back when, at the time, there was a lot of push for not letting the kids out. Latchkey kids. We were just very hot. There was a moment right there where we weren't able to do that for a minute, and that game was able to do that in a sense of adventure.
Yeah. And to going back to what Rob said, which I love you brought the community aspect, because community is everything for me. One of the things I've done a lot and I've tried to emphasize when I live stream is I actually take the time to study the viewer, who's actually coming to watch me. I don't just take for granted this person as a number. I have one person, I'll give you an example. His name is Dizzy the Gamerjit. Him, his wife, Jojo, and his daughter, Melody, have been watching me for over close to 10 years. When they started watching me, I kept track. I kept track of every time they came in. I would ask them purposely questions of things they liked. Later on, I started finding out that he was married, that he had a daughter, and his daughter looked up to me. And then later on, I learned about his wife and how his wife enjoys makeup and, fashion, and they love movies. And I started purposely learning details of my viewers. And one day, when I was live streaming, I told them purposely, I set a challenge. I said, I want you to ask me, what do you think I know about you? And they started asking me. They're like, oh, okay, well, Zap, what do you know about me? I was like, well, I know this about you. I know you've been following me this long. I know this and this and this. And they were surprised. They're like, wow, you actually know me? And I'm like, yeah, because if I'm trying to build a community, then I should take into consideration that you're a human being just like me. And that if I truly care about a community and not just numbers to grow, then I'm gonna take the time to connect with my community, to bond and connect with each and every single one. Now that may be impossible as you grow bigger and bigger, but I've made it a goal that as somebody joins my community, I'll immediately find a way to connect with them. I'll DM them. I'll send them a text. Yo, thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Zap Squad. Hopefully I'm able to make you feel like you're part of the family, If somebody jumps in my live stream, I make a whole party. I just stop what I'm doing. Right, right, babe? It's just a notification. I'm like, Mahaffin21, thank you for being part of the Zap Squad. Yo. Everybody drop the emotes. Everybody drop the emotes. A round of applause. I'll just do a whole ruckus, a whole show. That person will be laughing. They're like, oh, I've never been introduced like this in the world. I'm like, yeah, just roll out that red carpet, baby. Let's go. Somebody else in the community. But I do that on purpose to help people and make them realize you belong. You belong, and I'm glad that you're here and that you're a part of this community. Because years ago, I would have wanted someone to do that for me, and I didn't have it immediately. But I didn't stay in a rut and be like, oh, woe me is the world. I don't have nobody. Oh, I should just purchase a plane ticket and go back to Puerto Rico. The world's about to end. No, I decided I'm alone. What am I gonna do? I created a community, I created a space, and I invited other people in. And nowadays, I can luckily say I've made so many friendships, I've made so many connections, and I love my community. Like, I genuinely love my community. And even if tomorrow, let's say I stopped content creating, I can still go back to them and talk to them and have a great time because I've built a community. It's no longer about even the games I play. It's about who I am. And because they connect with me, then it don't really matter sometimes what I'm doing because we've taken the time to bond. Anybody else has a game that has probably helped them? You don't even have to be hardships or challenges. It could be as simple as learning new life skills, learning something that might have enlightened you. Wow, that's amazing. That's actually really impressive. One game that actually got me into video production, I have never revealed this before, but one game that actually helped me get into video production was, this may shock a couple of y'all actually, was Assassin's Creed. So Assassin's Creed, I fell in love with the storytelling. I fell in love with the lore. I fell in love with the creativeness of building a world. And, every main quest, every side quest, everything has a meaning. And it drew me to video production, actually. And I was like, how do I bring the same style that games do, to tell a story into videos? And that's where I started full flesh, in video production and making videos. And my challenge was not just to sit in front of a camera and talk, but how can I tell a story without me even being in it? How can I tell a story just by the visuals? How can I tell a story without words and somebody can still understand the message I'm trying to portray through a video? And luckily nowadays, I've learned and keep learning, and I've been evolving and been able to create videos like my healing journey that has made an impact in everybody's life, where I didn't have to say much, but a lot was understood. So I hope that with this message today, you can look at gaming differently and remind yourself that if you're going through something, whatever it may be, or you're looking for inspiration, go pull out some games. You never know what game is going to be the moment that's going to help you pivot and become the human being, the person that you want to be. So with that, I'm just going to go to Q&As. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And I just want to ask me, like literally ask me questions. Yes, sir. My very, even if I liked it or not? Okay, so my very first game, I did say Miss Pac-Man, but on that same day I played Dig Dug. Yes. 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 And ever since, every time I go to a barcade or I go to a place that there's arcades involved, you'll see me like, where's Zap? Miss Pac-Man, Dig Dug, over there in the corner. That's probably where you're gonna catch me. Yeah. Yeah, it's always like that. I have a thing for arcades, but that's a whole different story. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna sound a little bit old, but we had a jar of quarters. Now we had a jar of quarters that we would take with us to the arcade, and the way you would hint out that it's your turn is that we would place the quarter on the cab, and somebody would know like, hey, after you, it's my turn because I set this quarter right here. And I would actually do that on purpose always because I've always been competitive. So when it came to Street Fighter and stuff, that's where mainly all my quarters went into. And my dad would be like, once your quarters are done, it's done. We're going home. So I had this whole jar committed just to arcades. So every time he would tell me we're going to go, I had this, like, it was a Crayola. A Crayola. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was like a piggy bank. And I would take that with me, take it to the bank, change it, you know, for a couple of dollars, or keep it as quarters to go to the arcade. So that's mainly what I would do. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Yeah. So I've been so let me give you a little bit more context. Okay, so I have from my first marriage, I have 3 girls I raised. They're now all adults, and they're in the Army as we speak. And they would get into fights all the time. Like, these girls were something else. I came to the point I was like, I don't know what I raised at home, because this is a circus. But they would fight a lot. So one thing I did was, on the Wii U, there was a Super Mario Bros. Game, and you can play multiple people. So I had one person handling the gamepad, and then the other people with their controllers. And I had the one that would fight a lot be the actual one that would do the teamwork and look out for everyone else. And her role was to make sure that nobody dies. Because I was like, I need to show you a little bit of kindness, girl, so you're gonna handle the gamepad. And over time, when we had our sessions, she started getting better and better at it. And it came to the point that she would holler at her kids, at her sisters, and be like, Ganeshla, I told you to jump on top of this block so you don't die. You need to jump. So she would take her role a little too seriously. But towards the end, now these girls are so bonded in a way that even when I'm not around, they take the role of being a mom and then just checking in on everyone and making sure that they're doing well. On behalf of my son, I have a 14-year-old. He plays a lot of Minecraft, and he loves to construct things. Like, he is so visionary. Like, it blows my mind, everything he does. And it's drawn him to be more creative into music production. Now, let me remind you, he's 14. But the things he creates, the beats he creates, he'll write songs for you, he'll direct you and tell you what to do and what emotions to evoke through songs. Like, if it wasn't because he wasn't into gaming, I'm not saying he wouldn't be able to do it, but because he's been gaming, it's helped him, like, his creative juices, like I like to say, keep flowing, and he's just gotten better at it over time. Yeah. Anybody else before we wrap it up? Anybody else who has questions? All righty. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. And Q, I'm going to leave it to you.